Good morning. Baki, thank you for the subscription. Can I? Yes. I can do that. Immol, shouldn't you post the, Hold on, let me look at the LUTI server right now. If I can find it. News feed. Post by Toasty a week ago. Just says soon. So what speed ladder are you even talking about? Are you breaking news here in my chat, Himmel? Nobody knows anything. LUTI hasn't even been confirmed yet. Right? Breaking news. There's gonna be a speed ladder announcement, I'm assuming, at some point. Inkstorm. Bach, you're the only, unless K-Bot's here, you're the only person in chat who knows what Inkstorm is. Cringe. That's just future. Sign of the times. Squidboards is still a thing. Brush. It's not tournaments. Memory? I forgot about memory. That's ironic. Bach, I think you and everybody who played Splatoon 1 looks back at Splatoon 1 with rose-colored glasses and doesn't realize that it's not the best game in the series. It's not. Don't sit here and tell, oh, it was so much better than Splatoon 1. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Everything was way better back when I was a kid. Yeah. because you were a kid. Thank you for the follow, Tori PNG. And being the first person who followed me who I've actually pronounced your IGN correctly. Or handle, whatever it is. Followage. I didn't know that was a command. You're not getting Triggerfish back, Bach. You're not getting Triggerfish back. Why would that even need to be a command? Anybody can... You don't need to use the command to see how long I've been streaming. What a silly command. Bluefin. Oh. Triggerfish did nothing wrong. It existed. It's a pretty garbo map. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're molding, now that Sindao Q is closed for a few weeks, scrambling to find a team, now that LUTI has been kind of announced, I guess, posting pictures of puppies on the internet because everything is just too darn negative. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I do look at Twitter. You kind of have to if you're going to do a podcasting thing like this for competitive Splatoon. And I'll say this. Not everything needs to be, just because something gets several hundred likes and private quote retweets and bookmarks and things like that, doesn't mean it's newsworthy or something that needs to be discussed. So if you come here thinking I'm going to talk about anything related to Twitter today, I'm not, because quite honestly, I looked over it and I don't really have an opinion or / care one way or another. It's too many things going on in the world. I looked at that and said, all right, next. And just because something gets a lot of likes doesn't mean it's like groundbreaking and anything like that. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Just move on. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. Minnow Cup is this upcoming Saturday, hosted by MIT. I believe it's going to be Splat Zones only. Is this the first Minnow Cup since my wife stepped down? I think it is. So I think Rob is the main person that's running this one, along with the rest of the MIT staff. So good luck to everyone participating in Minnow Cup this upcoming Saturday. Proving Grounds is this Friday. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of you looking to get your butt kicked in a tough tournament. Proving Grounds is the way to go. Minnow Cup got moved to Sunday. What's Saturday? What's Saturday? Is that the thing Emil was talking about? Is that going to be this upcoming Saturday? I didn't. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong things on Twitter. If that's what I'm getting that's where I'm getting my news about things is. Okay, thank you, Baki. We'll go to your party. Did that just now get tweeted out? Is this breaking news? It is. This was tweeted out 6 minutes ago. The Academy Speed Ladder number 11 is going to take place on Sunday at 1 p.m. Wait a minute. Why is Minnow Cup moving to Sunday if Speed Ladder is going to take place on Sunday? Why would they? What's going on Saturday now? It seems like Minnow Cup would want to avoid Sunday at all costs at this point. But the LUTI Speed Ladder is taking place this upcoming Sunday, hosted by Academy. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Don't know how long the ladder runs, but if you were looking to play in LUTI, this is a perfect tournament that you should be looking to play into. So there you go. It's dangerous to go alone is Saturday. Who would? But was it? This is that. I don't know. By the way, the first tournament I ever played in back in 2018, before Destiny Troops was a thing, was It's Dangerous to Go Alone. So if that's taking place Saturday, feel free to sign up for that. It's a good event. No more looking at chat. Apparently, I don't know when anything's going on. I do know that next weekend is a Riptide, and usually I do a Riptide preview episode, or for any major land that goes on in the United States. I do a little bit of a preview for it. I am not going to be doing a preview this time around because I'm not going, so it makes sense not to do like an in-depth preview. However, somebody is going who is going to be a guest host on the Popcast a week from today. That is right. Falco Flyer is going to make his first appearance as a guest host here on the Popcast, going to be previewing Riptide and give you guys the most amazing, spectacular episode of the Popcast ever. You do not want to miss episode 194. It will blow your nuts off how amazing it's going to be. Guaranteed, or your money back. Today we are going to be recapping Little Squid League number 32 that took place on this Saturday. Also, arguably, not arguably, technically a more important tournament happened because low level is not the most important thing that goes on in the world. Squid Junction number 50 took place on Saturday as well. We're going to be talking about it a little bit over the course of the entire episode, sprinkle in little nuggets here and there, and obviously hit it pretty deep in the weekly recap. That's what she said. But first, as always, as we go through the LUTI section, if you want me to actually acknowledge something that you said in chat, leave a highlighted message, and I'll go back and read it at the end. Otherwise, you guys behave. I'm not going to pay attention for a bit. Got to focus. The first season of Sindao Q officially came to a close over the course of the last weekend. Season 0. Why do we start on 0 and not 1 with everything we do season-wise? I'm not quite sure, but Season 0, the test season of Sindao Q, is officially done. One of the goals that Sindao tweeted out for the Sindao Q thing was to get us all trained into a different kind of mindset. Instead of looking at LUTI divs as the indicator of how good you actually are in the community, what if we had these Sindao Q divs category grouping things that decided how good you are in the community based off of how well you play each season in Sindao Q? That was one of the goals, and a lot of people were on board with that. And then LUTI announced that they were coming back, and then all of that went out the window, and everyone wants to get a LUTI div again. That didn't last very long. LUTI's back. LUTI seen the Sindao Q taking a shot at them and said, you know what? Our divs rule this community. You can't get rid of us. We're coming back. Although I'm sure LUTI was planning on coming back well before that. Look, I get it. I get it. I've sit here and I make fun of people for having div estimates. And for 3 years, I've been talking about how LUTI divs are seeding for LUTI and not a skill indicator for how good you are across the entire community. I've been saying that, but I get it. I get the hype whenever LUTI does anything. LUTI tweets out anything. I automatically get why everyone automatically is hyped up about it. Anyone that's not in a plus server, hyped up about it. Last LUTI season, more than 460 teams played in this event. And if you're averaging, 6 players per team, because some got 4, a lot got 8, some got 10 on your roster, we're looking at upwards of 2,500 players played in the last LUTI season. 2,500 players played in the last LUTI season, roughly. Nobody can compete with that. Low Ink can't. Low Ink, that's like 2 times our biggest Low Ink ever, and then some. There's no major, there's no land, there's nothing that can touch that. It's the most popular tournament as far as the entire community is concerned. So when everybody freaks out about what div they're going to get, I get it. I get it. So what can I say that's new? Because I've made a career talking about LUTI here on the Popcast. I've talked about fake LUTI divs. I've talked about how you can get the div that you're looking for. What's something that I can say that's new here on the Popcast? Because I know you guys listen to all 193 episodes up to this point. You're looking for new content out of me, fresh content. You're not gonna let me just get away with recycling material over and over again. Although I've kind of done that a lot. None of you really caught on at this point. So let's give out something new. Instead, I am going to give you guys my personal philosophy that I go into when I have been invited to be a part of the LUTI City Council in the past. Now, a little bit of a note here. I have not been asked to be a part of the new LUTI City Council yet because that is not a thing. If I was asked, and this is weird saying this because the person who's asked me is in chat right now, of course I would say yes, but if I wasn't asked, I would be like, okay, cool, I totally understand. Moving on to my next thing. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm going to give you guys my philosophy for the past 3 LUTI seasons that I've been a part of the seeding council when it comes to seeding teams. Now, this is not supposed to be coming across as a, here's what you guys need to do to impress me, the person who's on the seeding council. No, that's not what this is supposed to be at all. First off, in the past, I've been one of like 10 people that are on the seeding council. I think there might even be more than that technically. So I'm like 1/10 of the seeding council. It's not, I don't decide everything. Just like in Low Inc, when you guys get banned from Low Inc, it's not Pop Gun that decides everything by myself. It is a collective group, and I have one part of that collective group that is a part of things. However, I will say, back when I was playing this game competitively, when Destiny Troops was looking for scrims during the weeks that I was part of the LUTI seeding council, all of a sudden, magically, these higher level teams were reaching out to set up scrims with us. They never wanted to scrim us before, but now that I'm on the seeding council and it's seeding week, they're going out of their way. Hey, are you looking for a scrim? We'll make some time to scrim you guys. And we'd scrim them, and they beat the dog snot out of us, and they'd be like, hey, that was a great scrim. Are you free tomorrow? We can scrim you guys again then, too. It's like, oh, okay. Are you trying to, like, impress me through scrims, or you just magically decided for no related reason that you want to help a little bit of a lower skill level team how to get better? Oh boy, there were some weird privileges for Destiny Troops having me as their captain, and that was definitely one of them. We took advantage of those scrims though. That was good practice for us. Before we get into it though, I want to quickly dispel something. I've said this on the last episode of the Popcast where I talked about LUTI back in December, and I've put this out on Twitter. And this is a true math statement. Based on the amount of teams that signed up last LUTI season, if members of the seeding council were to give 40 hours, donate 40 hours of their week to go into seeding teams, that they could only spend 5 minutes looking at each individual team to seed them. That's not enough time to seed teams properly, but with the amount of teams you got in the week that you have, and, well, you're basically doing this for free, that's the time you got to work with. That is true. 40 hours roughly equals 5 minutes per team. What is not true is how much time people in the seeding council actually spend doing that. I can tell you full well, I ain't spending 40 freaking hours seeding teams. I'm pushing myself every LUTI season I've been a part of this to do like 20 hours. Like 20 hours. And I guarantee you, a lot of the people in the seeding council are not giving 20 hours. That's a lot of time to dedicate to one thing. Maybe 25 if I'm really like if I like broke down the math. But that's it. So that 5 minute thing per team that I was pointing out, nobody's spending that much time looking at you. It's more like 2.5. That's it. And that's the blunt, honest reality of things. And if you're wondering how you look at a team for 2 minutes and seed them, the answer is pretty simple. The vast majority of you are stupid easy to put into a div. Takes zero thought whatsoever. And I've talked about this in the past. The process is you start at div X and work your way down, because you can only see teams that sign up into this thing. It's not like a team signs up and you go, these guys are div 3 no matter what. No, if they're the best team that signs up, they're the top of div X. If they're the worst, they're near the bottom of whatever the lowest div is. That's it. You don't just automatically place teams in when they sign up, but you do rank them, and you go into the list, div X down to div 11 or 9 or whatever the basement is, based on how many teams sign up. So the vast majority of you are pretty easy to group together. And then it's just your time. All right, here's your time to get onto the bus. And, if it's Div 2, great. If it's Div 7, whatever. It's pretty easy to do that. And when you do your rough draft, all 100 through, 1 through 460 plus, whatever the number was last season, you get all the way through that. And then, once you get everybody placed in, then you go back and you look over some things. You comb over your rough draft of a fine-tooth comb, and you look at it and you say, oh, wait, this team should go down a div. Oh, wait, that team should go up a div. And the tricky thing is, if you move a team down or up a div, you got to replace them with somebody. Hey, this team's I got in my Div 3. They got to go up to Div 2. Oh, well, somebody's got to go down from Div 2 back into Div 3 then. Who's going to move down? Only 24 teams get a div, but I could argue 26 of these teams should be in Div 2. Well, who's the 2 that are the odd men out? So that's what I want to focus on today. Those actual conversations that take place in the LUTI Seating Council on that final day where you're debating Team A versus Team B. One has to go up a div, one has to go down. What can you do to make sure that you're the team that gets moved up instead of the team that gets moved out? How do you make sure that the LUTI Seating Council argues for you instead of arguing for the other team over you? I'll give you an insight into my personal philosophy when it comes to those conversations. Here's what I look for when I argue for a team to be up the better of the two. Number one, what results do you have that are recent? Recent results are way more important than results that you had long ago. Some of you cling to this 2-1 win you got against Cherry Limeade in a group stage of a tournament a year ago, and you put that in your resume, in your bios, and your plus server voting things, and you stick with that. Okay, there is a statute of limitations on results. There are. Just because you beat Cherry Limeade once a year ago, it loses each passing day. It loses a little bit of value. It's like a car. You take it off the lot, the value of it is going down every single day. You need new results. You need fresh results. And by the way, you won't go back and list the 4 times you played Cherry Limeade since then, and they 3-0'd you every single time. Hey, look at this one time we beat them. Some of you, a lot of you, all of you do that. Recent results hold way more value than something that you've done a little bit more in the past. So if you're a team that plays in more current events and you get more current results, I'm going to argue for you over another team that doesn't. Now, this brings up the question. What about last season's LUTI results? That was 8 months ago. But it's the same tournament, right? Shouldn't the results that you get in this tournament count more for this tournament? Again, it comes back to a recency thing. If you get some credible, notable things, you win your division, that's great. It's still 8 months ago or 7 months ago. Well, by the time the next season starts, it'll be officially 8 months at that point. It'll be a while. A long time ago. And if you got some more recent results to further show the growth that you had on top of LUTI, then yeah, that works out great. But there's this mindset that if I win Div 1, I'm automatically guaranteed a spot in Div X next season. History has proven, even before I've been a part of the Seeding Council, that is not how the Seeding Council operates. There's been teams that won Div 1. Next season, they're right back in Div 1. There are teams that did Div great in Div X. The next season, you got most of the people in the Seeding Council being like, nope, they're not part of the top 12 of the teams to sign up this time around. They need to go down to Div 1. Nothing is guaranteed based off of what you did last LUTI season. It helps, but again, it's not recent results. That is what I value way more over what you've done in the past, even if it's the same tournament like LUTI. This is a fair thing to think about, though. Now, number 2. And this one might be a little bit more controversial, I guess, maybe. But if it comes down between 2 teams and one of them is a pickup and the other one is a well-established actual team, I'm likely going to favor the actual team over the pickup. Now let's back this up here. For the context that I'm talking about, I'm not sitting here saying that Moonlight is better than Flippa-Floppa because Moonlight's an actual team and Flippa-Floppa is a pickup. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying when 2 teams are similar in skill level, I think the team should get the nod over the pickup. Mainly because the results that the team they got that as an actual team, whereas pickup, they got results spread across 4 or 5 players from who knows what different events that they got them all from, who all they were playing with. And it's just not, it just doesn't hold as much value, individual results, as actual team results. So when it comes down to that, with that argument, I'll go with the pickup team. I'll go with the actual team over the pickup team. And the catch to this is team rosters change a lot. And, well, as you'll see with the Little Squid League champs, Team Biscuits, they had one player that was on their roster that won this upcoming Little Squid League that was a part of Low Inc. back in April. It's a completely different team at that point. How do you see that? Still, the name brand team gets a little bit more credibility in my book than an actual pickup. Number 3, if you play in nothing but low-level events, you've won the grand prize. You're going to get a low-level div. It's going to happen. Unless nobody that's above you signs up and you get bumped way up, div inflation. Yeah, but if you do 0 open events, you're going to get a low-level div. It's just how it is. I don't care how good you've done in Low Inc. I don't care if you're an alpha bracket team. I don't care if you've won Low Inc. I don't. Because, and this is, I said this last season, and it didn't happen, but it is going to happen at some point. A team that has won Low Inc. is going to get in Div 5 or below at some point. It's going to happen. Several teams have been banned from Low Inc. It's just a mathematical thing. There's only so many spots. There's only 24 spots in Div 1 through Div 4 and like 12 or 8 depending on the season in Div X. That's a finite number, but more and more teams are winning Low Inc. and getting banned from Low Inc. every single month. There's not enough room for all of that. For somebody to take a spot, you have to replace somebody. And somebody's got to go down. And a team that's going to go down are teams that are banned from Low Inc. and have won Low Inc. Why? What's the difference going to be? They don't play in enough tournaments afterwards. Or they don't get the credible results. And they're not showing steadily improvement after getting banned from Low Inc. And if you guys think we're just going to automatically let anybody into Low Inc. that goes down to Div 5, that's not how that works. That is not at all how that works. We're starting to separate ourselves from LUTI a little bit. Yes, the rule on the book says Div 5 and below, but we decide who in Div 5, below, or above can still play in our tournament. You just got the line in the sand there in the rule book. We still make the determination. So if you guys say you were banned before in Low Inc., and then LUTI says you're Div 5, and then you come into help desk and be like, we should be eligible for our tournament because LUTI said so. We're going to be like, we're not LUTI, bruh. We're Low Inc. We decide who comes in and out of our tournament. But if you guys don't play in anything, it's not going to help your case. Your spot is not guaranteed because you are banned from Low Inc. I promise you that. That's why you guys who put Div 4 in your bio, when you get banned from Low Inc., you got another thing coming. It might not be this season, but it'll happen at some point when so many of these plus server players that don't do anything finally decide, hey, we should play the video game. They're going to take your spot. I promise you. So, when it comes to 2 teams, one of them, they're both low-level teams. One of them plays in open events. The other does absolutely nothing outside of low-level. Who am I going to give the nod to? Now you know. Number 4. I think we all should be on the same page with this, right? Gimmick tournaments should hold zero weight in this conversation. If you put a gimmick tournament result down, it better be that you won the tournament. Otherwise, quite honestly, I don't really care. And that's not because I hate gimmick tournaments or I look down on them. In fact, I'm going to talk about the one that happened yesterday. Smogden Starlight that took place yesterday. Great tournament. Seemed like a fun time. But gimmick tournaments don't have the same rules as the tournament that you're signing up to actually play in. And that's not to say that you have to play in a tournament that has 100% the same exact rules as LUTI, but the tournament yesterday banned every single weapon that you're actually going to see teams use in this upcoming LUTI season. So gimmick tournaments should hold zero unless you like straight up won it. Then maybe I can look at that and be like, okay, you got something to brag about here. Otherwise, it shouldn't really be a factor into what div you got or don't get. Feel free to disagree. Number 5, and this is going to be the tricky one going forward for this season. What do you do with send out queue? And this is the debate. It's not just for LUTI. We got people coming into the low-ink help desk. Hey, am I going to get banned from low-ink based off of what happens in send out queue? I honestly don't know where send out queue fits into everything as of right now. I want to say initially no. It's not like it's a scrim in any way. It's not a scrim. But it's also not a tournament match. You're playing possibly a pickup. It's hard to like look who you're actually playing against. Did that opponent take it seriously? What kind of bullcrap maps did you play on that you're never going to see in any actual tournaments? Like send out queue is so it's kind of borderline actual result, actual not. I think the general consensus with the community right now is that send out queue results are not actual results. I will say this though, I'm fine with it being a deep tiebreaker between two teams. Like if you really cannot separate two teams and you've looked at every single thing they've done, you can't separate the two. Maybe send out queue comes into play there. Other than that, I don't see it being a factor at this point. And that could be different a season or two from now. It's just the way the community sees this thing just right now it's not, I don't think it's fair to use it into any kind of results, LUTI or if you're banned from low ink or not. And also, I don't want teams to not play in send out queue because, oh, what if we do good here? We'll get banned from low ink. No, it's practice, you idiots. Practice the game. It's fine. Go play. Don't be afraid when Keo asks you to do a quad with them. Oh, they're going to get carried me to some results. No. You might learn something. Play the game. Don't be scared of getting banned from something. Now, all of this is just my personal theory when it comes to seeding and dividing between two teams. And then, by the way, I don't just do that with LUTI. I usually take that approach when it comes to other things that I get asked to seed with as well, which I get asked to seed a lot of different things. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. The good news is, again, I'm like one of 12 people. I mean, you should agree with me because I'm right pretty much all the time. If you don't talk to anybody in my low ink top 10 or any of the college teams or anybody that I gamble channel points on in SOS, you exclude that very niche small group, I actually know what I'm talking about most of the time. And the good news is, in other words, if you want to get a good div, here's what you do. Just play the video game. That's it. It's that simple. The 99% of you are not going to be a team that gets debated. I promise you. You're just going to be a team that gets plugged into the correct div. The vast majority of teams that get put into the div, whether they complain about it on Twitter or not, doesn't matter. They get seeded correctly. They always do. If they don't, it's because they didn't fill out the form and change their IGN, so they like hide information, or they're a college team and we didn't pay attention to you last time. Other than that, everybody gets seeded pretty much correctly. You guys realize that, right? Like, it's all, even with as much as I dramatize it out to be like this impossible thing, the vast majority of the things get seeded right. You get people that go out on Twitter and they complain, oh, I should not have been put in this div. You know what they do? They get put in a div that they're in a dogfight in. They're going like 5-3, 5-4 results every single week. You know what that means? You got put in the right div. The most important thing is you want to get put into the correct div. You don't want to get put into a div that's really good. Yeah, you think that's great because you can put it in your bio, but what's the point of being put into a div better than what you are if you just go 0-5 every single week? At the same time, you don't want to be under divved. Completely get that. How boring is it to go through your group 5-0 in everybody, and then everyone goes on Twitter, why did this team get put in this group? It's not like that team, changed their roster after the LUTI season started and then got magically better. It's not like the seeding council missed that. It's not like that could happen. The seeding council can't just look into the future, by the way, and see who all is going to change their rosters and get magically better. But the vast majority of things get done correctly. Unless a couple of few get missed out. It's impossible to get it 100% right, but this is about as close as it can get, I think. So make sure you sign up for LUTI. Enjoy it. And if you just take care of your business, just play the game, people are going to see, and you're going to get put into the correct div. It might not match what your estimate is, but nobody's worried about estimates on the seeding council. I promise you that. They're just worried about getting you the correct one. Neato. There's a good chance the team you scrim is also practicing new things. This and other variable match scrim results. Wait, what? Why are we talking about scrim results? Don't put scrim results in your thing. If Sindar Q results aren't real results, why do you also keep saying up in a certain level of scrim should also not be a thing? Huh? What? I don't get what that question is. Scrims are practice. Scrims are 100%. Okay, so let's use this example. You see a lot of tweets during the NFL preseason about, oh, this quarterback's really struggling in practice. Or rumors are this player is really doing a bad job in practice against this other team. Is this going to be a bad year for this player? No, that player always does good during the season. Why? Because during practice, they're trying something else. They're experimenting, and they're figuring out what does and doesn't work. When you experiment, you get better. And that doesn't mean experiment using the same comp or a different comp. Oh, let's see what Clash Blaster can do in our comp. No, it's experimenting with gameplay. It's experimenting with different openings. It's different philosophies of going through things. This is what practice is. This is what scrims are. And send out Q results. Yeah, it's still some practice there, but when you go about it with a pickup mentality of like that you see in these plus servers of getting 3 other different players and going up against 4 other random players that may or may not be VCing. Yeah, there's something on the line, but it's still practice. It's still not a tournament set. That's what we're getting at here. See a lot of people in +3 say, well, that's your first problem right there, is that you're listening to anything people in +3 say. That's usually a bad indicator. They have kept up in +3 scrims, and that's why they should be in +3. Well, scrims are just practice. People are getting in +3, keeping up. So why is it different for send out Q? Well, that's because +3 players are idiots. That's why. I'm keeping up in scrims. Okay, cool. Congratulations. Let's move on. It is now time for the weekly recap. SOS number 120 took place on Wednesday. It was won by In Control Red Sun. Oswalt Fan Club finished in second place, and Velocity finished in second place last week, finishes in third place this time around. Red Sun is turning their hot girl summer into a hot girl autumn along the way. Red Sun, believe it or not, is the most improved team of the year. They are. They've had a fantastic summer, and they're continuing this. They won the most recent Proving Grounds. They've won a couple of SOS tournaments, including the one last Wednesday. And I know Admir left, I think retired from competitive, so they're still looking to rebrand. They could get even stronger based on who they add, but Red Sun has been very impressive so far since school let out. Orca Balestra won the Hammerhead brackets, Surf and Turf won Mako bracket, and Bell Pepper Exercises won Lantern. Squid Junction number 50 took place on Saturday at a time that was favorable to North America and Europe. It was won by Jackpot, who did not drop a single set all along the way, beating Flippa Floppa in grand finals to take second place, and Destroy finishes out your top three. Jackpot, I talked about recent results holding value. If you were to say who's the best team over the course of the entire Splatoon 3's history, you say Starburst. But if you were to seed those two teams against each other today, you have to see Jackpot as the number one team in the community. I'm not sitting here saying they'll beat... Wait, no, I will say it. Jackpot's going to beat Starburst in Seattle a week from today. I believe that's what that is. Jackpot's the number one team in the community right now. They're playing in recent results. They're winning everything. They're beating Flippa Floppa, who is having a chokehold on everything up to this point. Jackpot's consistently beating them. They're the number one team in the community right now. I'm not saying they've accomplished more. Their resume is not better than Starburst, but recency bias, Jackpot's the best team in the community right now. By the way, 60 teams played in this one, a $300 total prize pool. It was seeded damn near perfectly by the staff. Hats off to you guys. Very few upsets as far as seeding is concerned, and it was mostly chalk across the board as far as who finished in what spot. Credit to not just the seeding council that was a part of this tournament, but also to the teams for actually playing up to the seed. Sometimes a TO can seed a tournament perfectly, and the teams just don't live up to their own how good they should be playing. The TOs are never wrong. It's always the teams that don't play up to their seed. It's a combination of both made things work out here. Nicely done to the Squid Junction staff for 50 tournaments and a fantastic event there. Smug on Starlight took place last night. It was won by Last Resort. Sweet Tooth took second place, and Pony's Strike rounds out your top three. This is a non-meta tournament where the vast majority of the meta tournament weapons were banned. I think the best weapon that wasn't banned was the vanilla Tri-Slosher, and ultimately Last Resort, which I didn't look at what specific weapons were banned versus what Last Resort usually does, but Last Resort usually does really well in these gimmick tournaments because they just play what they normally do anyways, like they did when they played in Beta's tournaments earlier this year, I believe. There were two brackets, a coffin bracket and a wheezing bracket. Last Resort won the wheezing bracket. That was your weekly recap. Sponsored by this little bunny nightlight thing. So you don't want to have lights on all the time when you're changing your kid's diaper at the dead of night. So to help dimly light the room, you got this little bunny nightlight. You squeeze it, and it turns on. And if you squeeze it a second time, it starts changing colors. So that's how you turn it on, just by like, you're up at 4 in the morning and the kid just won't stop crying. You just grab the bunny, and then the bunny just turns on, or not turn off. Look, guys, we're running out of baby-related things. It's either this or the breast pump, all right? So let's just stick with this. The Nightlight Bunny thing, the official sponsor of today's segment of the Weekly Recap. A new way to get in the Plus servers is by getting top 300 Syndic IQ starting next season. Yes, I like that. I like that players can earn their way into the server without getting voted in. And I think getting voted in, I think you need a higher percentage to get voted in next time around. I think you need like 70%, whereas before you needed 50, to help counter out the balance that the top 30 get put in automatically or something like that. You need a 60%. That's 10 percentage points is a lot there. So yeah, maybe the Plus server will become less cringe, unless it doesn't. Before we get into Little Squid League number 32, I do want to point out that the second time that, the second day that my wife and I were able to come home from the hospital with our kid was when Little Squid League Ladder Edition took place. So we didn't really nobody talked about the Little Squid League Ladder on the Popcast during that time. So it's a new... So I didn't get to talk about it back when it happened. I want to talk about it briefly here because I like that Little Squid League did a ladder. It was an open tournament. There was no skill cap for it. 50 teams ended up playing in it. I don't know how it went, but if you're going to do a ladder tournament, which again, I've always said, if you have a ladder into a top cut, that's dumb. But there wasn't this. It was just a straight up ladder, and whatever, I don't know how long it lasted, but whenever it ended, whoever had the highest one at the end is declared the winner. It doesn't matter. It's not about winning the tournament. It's about getting as many results against other teams as you can around your skill level as you keep climbing the ladder, which is exactly what the LUTI speed ladder is. So I wonder, I'm curious if, because I've never personally run a ladder, so I don't know like how much of a headache it is to run something like that. I hope it went well for Little Squid League, and I hope it's something they want to do going forward. Because from playing, like when I was playing, I loved playing in ladder tournaments. It's so nice just to be able to play a game whenever you want to play a game, instead of just being like, oh, we got 10 minutes until the next round. Or if you're like, hey, I got to go get like lunch for like 20 minutes. Can we just not do anything? Yeah, you can just play at your own pace. And when you're not stressed out to be like, the problem with the Overlord tournaments is you can't take breaks. You got to keep going and going and going, and to like KO your opponent as quickly as you can to find another match so that you can make sure you get enough wins to get into the top 16. But if you're not like trying to win the ladder tournament and you're just trying to get as many results as you want to get, ladder's perfect. And I hope Little Squid League went great with that. It wasn't hard to run, so that they're interested in doing it again. Or it could have totally sucked. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. This Little Squid League, though, number 32 is just your regular old Little Squid League skill cap tournament. I do got a gripe. I got a gripe here. Because one of my favorite things to do is look at the feedback channel of other tournaments and laugh at the stupid players that leave stupid feedback. And I always enjoy that because sometimes feedback that's left in a public forum is good. Most of the time it's embarrassing. The last couple of months before we closed the little the feedback channel Low Ink, it was getting, some of you were flat out embarrassing yourselves of some of the things that you were giving. Now they did the right thing. Little Squid League no longer has a public feedback channel. It's now a forum, which is the correct way to go about it. But man, I loved making fun of you guys for leaving stupid feedback in the Little Squid League channel, and now I'll never get to do it. But I know there's somebody that complained about something dumb. It's just now private, which is good. This is good, but hey, there you go. Oh, also, side note, because I know somebody complained about Little Squid League on Twitter last month, and they're like, well, they didn't take our feedback seriously, so we're going to take this to Twitter. That's fine. That's, like, people do that to Low Ink all the time, and we try not to discourage people from doing that. We're not, again, like, TOs aren't immune from criticism, and white knighting for TOs is kind of cringe sometimes, especially when criticism is, like, fair. And I'm not saying the Little Squid League one last time was fair or not. I didn't really look that deep into it. That kind of plays into the theme of the day. But still, feedback forums being in forums and not in public tends to help make those issues a little bit more down. And you get a lot more thought out feedback, honestly. When somebody knows they're not just giving you feedback to try to get clout, and they're like giving you just like private information, like that they think's better, you usually get better actual feedback. And you're like, hey, this guy's got a great point. Let's fix that. I guess a lot of the feedback Little Squid League's been getting has not been good. Let's take a look at the groups of this tournament. Again, we'd like to go down one match. I like to highlight one match from each individual group and talk about it for any reason I feel like needs to be talked about. We are going to start with Group A, and I'm going to talk about this match here between Soup Group and Dark Matter. That went into the favor of Soup Group, going 2-1. Soup Group winning this one, pumped them up into gold bracket. Dark Matter losing it, knocked them down into silver. Now, if you call yourself Dark Matter, which is potentially the most powerful thing in the universe, unless I'm wrong, I'm not a scientist, you should be better than a team that's named after liquid food, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some soup. Tomato soup with peanut butter crackers is really good. Almost said cookies and juice, but that's a little too absurd. But still, Soup Group played in their second tournament ever. They went 1-3 in their first tournament ever, which was Low Ink last week. They went 1-3 in that one and ultimately dropped. Come back in this one, got 2-1 win over Dark Matter, got 3-1 overall, and moved into the gold bracket. So nicely done, Soup Group. Dark Matter, I believe, makes up the vast majority of the universe. We just don't know what it is at this point. Maybe somebody in chat can figure out what Dark Matter is and be a better use of their time instead of responding to stupid crap on Twitter. Group B, the match I want to look at here is the Origami Dragons as they take on and get a win over Double Trouble. Now, this again propelled Origami Dragons up, Double Trouble down. And it wasn't like they already won the first two games, so this third one was just kind of played for potential tiebreakers, which actually is a thing when you got this many teams and only so few can move on to the gold bracket. Double Trouble, I wouldn't put these guys out because for the longest time, I thought Double Trouble was staff from the 2v2 tournament, which I believe is called Double Trouble, or like Dual Ink or something like that. There was like a 2v2 tournament called Double Trouble, and that's what I thought this team was. But now I think I realized they've been playing in enough events that they're an actual team now because I've been seeing them play in things. Origami Dragons, again, it seems like they've turned the corner. Winning Little Squid League, just like winning Low Ink, is difficult. Doesn't necessarily see you're good or bad, depending on how you're doing that. But Origami Dragons consistently good now. Follow that up again with this week. Group C, the one match I want to highlight here is this one right here. One Hit getting the 2-1 win over Devoradora's SP. Pretty sure I pronounced that one correctly. No idea who 81 of those teams are, but one hit got eliminated in losers round 4 of Gamma Bracket last week to Aquatic Vanguard, who beat them 1-2. So one hit is not just a one-hit wonder. They're actually still pretty good. And moving on to top cut out of this one in Group C. Did I say D? I said C. You heard incorrectly. Now we're looking at Group D, though. The match I want to look here in Group D, give me the White Siege getting a 2-1 win over the Glitter Gel Pins. I've always given the Glitter Gel Pins a hard time because their name is aggravating. Nobody likes Glitter Gel Pins, but I do like this team, and I'm glad that they're still coming back, even though they take a couple of months off. They were in a tough group right here. They were in a really tough group. Their round 1 opponent dropped, and then they played the top 2 teams in this group, White Siege being one of them, as you see the number 2 seed, and did win the first game. Couldn't find a way to close out 2 or 3, where White Siege ultimately won and moved on to top cut. But for White Siege, this is a team that's on the up and up. They had a good losers run in Delta Bracket last week in Low Ink. Pretty good in the last Little Squid League and gold bracket of this one as well. Good things going for the White Siege team. Let's look at Group E. The match I want to highlight here in Group E is the... Where is it? There it is. Rogeport Rascals getting a 2-1 win over the Haversard level minimum. Now, this threw me off for so long. This is not a word. Rougoue. That's not a word. I looked up in Google. So I'm thinking this is Rogeport from Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. Correct? That's what this is, right? And while being a wonderful video game, and it's so aggravating that was the last good Paper Mario game. Don't at me. None of the Paper Mario games since then has ever come close to 1,000 Year Door. This is not the correct spelling of that word, but I'm pretty sure it is a reference to Paper Mario, because what else could it be? Getting a 2-1 win over Hazard level minimum. And I don't think I had anything clever written down about those teams. Group F. We're looking at a New Dawn getting a 2-1 win over Lifeline. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new Lifeline. And they're going to gold bracket. Now, what did I put down here? They missed day 2 of the most recent Low Ink. I'm talking about New Dawn here. They missed day 2 of the most recent Low Ink by 1 spot. So, like, only 16 teams out of each group moved on to day 2. And these guys got number 17th group, and nobody dropped from their group. But to go from not even making day 2 of Low Ink to making gold bracket of Little Squid League, nicely done to them. Largely credit due to this win. A very critical game 3. Bouncing into their favor, obviously. I don't really have much to say about Lifeline, but I will talk about them again, because the spoiler alert, they do show up again. Group F is what we're looking at. We already did that. Group G is the final group here. The match that we're going to talk about here is Kiwi Ice Cream taking on Remix. That has to be how that's pronounced, I'm assuming. Now, Kiwi Ice Cream. This is going to sound mean, but when teams get good, you got to show where they were before to highlight how good they've gotten. Kiwi Ice Cream in Low Ink, the last time they played in Low Ink, there was 34 teams in their group, and they finished 31st. Going 2-4. A not very impressive 2-4. But the good news is they've bounced back since then, getting a 2-1 win over a solid Remix team that has gone 3-3 in the most recent time that they played in Low Ink, and Kiwi Ice Cream is moving on to gold bracket. We like to see improvement. We celebrate it, and there's a lot of improvement there for Kiwi flavored ice cream. who's not going to silver bracket, but we are going to take a look at silver bracket real quick. First off, in silver bracket, the customary, sometimes not silver, sometimes in gold, but here's the customary Little Squid League acknowledgement that UFish is here. Here they are, going into winning third place match over Lifeline in the game 5. Lifeline, the team that came one game away from making gold brackets against the New Dawn, came one game away from winning third place in silver bracket. So a tough run for Lifeline all the way through here, but still a lot for them to build off of going forward. But UFish, that's a tough team for anybody to be beating, obviously. One of the most experienced Little Squid League teams of all time. Not more experienced than the Night Logic. We'll get to them, though. First off, Starboard. This is their silver bracket second place result that they got here. But this is the second time they've played in a tournament ever. The first time they played in a tournament was the most recent Little Squid League before this one, where they got eliminated in round 2 of silver bracket. So there's some notable improvement right there. Are they going to get a different div because of this? Just acknowledge normal improvement in tournaments, not fake div estimate improvements that we give ourselves here. Nicely done, Starboard. Results are fact. Everything else is opinion. Now, the Night Logic winning silver bracket here, I had to go back and look. Night Logic has been around a long time. Sometimes it's a team I get confused with other night-themed teams. But the Night Logic, the first time they played in a tournament was August Low Inc. of 2020. The Night Logic has been a team for over 3 years now. The first Little Squid League they played in was Little Squid League number 13, where they finished 4th place in the bronze bracket. That was before they had Swiss groups, and wherever you finished in your 4-team group, you got put into a bracket. It was basically SOS kind of format. That was how long ago that was, almost 20 Little Squid Leagues ago. Night Logic's been around a long-ass time, and now they've won silver bracket of Little Squid League. So nicely done to them. Nobody cares about the silver. We want to see the gold. We want to see the gold. So let's go through here. Where is it? Where are the team that decides who plays in losers or in grand finals? If you want to go to grand finals, you have to beat Joe Cephalopod, Joe Starfish. Is that a JoJo's reference? At some point in Little Squid League. And Dead Sandwich Revival 2000 was able to do just that, beating the number 2 seed 2-1 and being the customary team to beat out the team that is destined to always be the bridesmaid in this tournament. JoJo, start playing in Low Inc. You'll do a lot better in Low Inc. than you will in Little Squid League. I promise you, because there's no pressure on you guys to win Low Inc. Whereas every time JoJo plays in Little Squid League, it's going to be, are they going to get back to grand finals? No? Well, maybe not. It's Dead Sandwich's time to do just that, though. Hot Cocoa. Let's give these guys a little bit of shout out. One game away from beating the Paper Mario team in the 3rd place match here. They went 2-4 in the last Low Inc. We talk about everybody in the Scold bracket making Delta bracket or just barely missing Delta bracket or making Gamma bracket of the last Low Inc. Hot Cocoa didn't make day 2. Going 2-4. And they beat all those teams and finished one game away from winning 3rd place out of this entire tournament, which I believe had 80 to 88 teams actually playing it. So big bounce back from Hot Cocoa. By the way, Little Inc. was just a week ago. So this is just a 1 week difference for this squad. What a difference a week makes. Of course, the team that did win was this Paper Mario team. I don't have any information about it. I tried to look up something. It seems like it's either a new team or a project or a pickup. Same thing with the Dead Sandwich Revival Gang 2000. I don't know what's going on here. Like, I don't know. I looked up these players, and it's hard to, like, find without like using my low ink cheating bots to like pull information. It's hard to like figure out what teams these guys actually came from. It's clearly a pickup, and I don't even get, that's not a sandwich. This is not a sandwich. That is a like red velvet cheesecake, layered cheesecake thing. That is not a sandwich. Is this some sort of thing where like Europe thinks biscuits are cookies, like Team Biscuits does? Like this whole grand finals is between two teams that doesn't know what the food is that they're representing. So to whatever for that. But if I were to look at the feedback form, I guarantee you somebody left some sort of thing that said, why the hell was Team Biscuits allowed to play in Little Squid League? And I can answer that question for you guys because I've been verifying them for Low Ink, and I put them in my top 10 a couple of months ago. And then somebody DM'd Hoenn to tell me that, hey, we're not that good anymore. Just a heads up. I was like, what in the world? So Team Biscuits isn't the same exact Team Biscuit team that finished an alpha bracket back in April of Low Ink. The captain is the same, but other than that, literally the entire roster for Team Biscuits is changed over. So it's a completely new team. So if you're wondering why they got allowed in the Little Squid League, that's why. Their team's different at that point, except for their captain. Now, they play in their first Little Squid League, and they curb stomp it, only losing 2 games the entire time. One to Dead Sandwich Revival 2000, and the other to not Hot Cocoa. Who? Real Monsters was the only other team to actually take a game off of these guys. So, yeah, they're good. But good news is Little Squid League has now banned Team Biscuits going forward. So, there you go. And it is not biscuits, the cookies, by the way. That's not what biscuits actually are. But that was Little Squid League number 32. And with that, I'm going to enjoy the rest. Or not really enjoy. I'm going to spend the rest of my paternity leave not doing the podcast. Next week, Falco Flyer is going to be hosting with a special preview of Riptide, the best episode promised ever of the Popcast, episode 194. And between now and then, if you'd like to be part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at Popgun. Oh, wait, no. Everything's just Popgun at this point. YouTube's 25 Popgun. Just search Popgun. I got to be the most popular Popgun-related thing on the planet right now, right? Like nobody even knows what a Popgun is anymore. In between now and then, stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask. If you're going to Riptide, bunker down now. Do not get sick or get COVID between now and then. Stay safe, guys. Riptide's going to be awesome. Falco will tell you next week. Oops, stop stream. What?